Nice to see you back on day 2. Reduced attendance, but we let it pass because it's been very cold out there and people are still snuggled into their bed sheets. Okay. A lot of us have this perception that, okay, I know an officer there, okay, I don't have a train to my place, I'll get a train, ask him for a train. Keep pestering him for 3-4 years, then he says, okay, let me do away with this pest and grant a train. That's not how it works. It's a far more complex arrangement to introduce a new train than we all think. It's got a lot to do with timetables of BSP, then the loco requirements, electric and diesel, slots at railway stations, so many other things. So we just have a look. Okay, efficiency of a railway, most of it is there which you can read, but I'll just flip through so that we finish it earlier. Okay, important part is efficiency and punctuality. The first thing the railway looks for is, if I run this train, how will it affect my punctuality? Statistics may be first, you find 98.7% punctuality in a division, when 100% of the time you've been traveling there, you've always been late. It happens. Next slide. Okay, this is nothing new, the type of coaching that's available in IR passenger, which means mail and express also. And composition is with reference to railways, the number of coaches, and with reference to passengers is the type of coaches. Number of coaches is the formation of a train, type is the 1A, 2A, 3A combinations. Why do we have timetable in the first place? Apart from all this stuff, you still don't know how much later train is running at least, with reference to some point. And it also helps that it's a statutory requirement under the Indian Railways Act. It acts as a guide to the railway staff, most importantly the working timetables. Next. Okay. Introduction of new trains, extension, increase and decrease in frequency, withdrawal of halts, rerouting, withdrawal of slip coaches. All these things go into deciding about a new train or at the time of making a new timetable. Next. Okay. There is something that we've never known as a military timetable. Have anybody ever come across something called a military timetable? Okay. I also haven't seen one, but I was informed by my source who gave me this information that military has their own schedule for movement of men and material in peacetime. In wartime situation, it's always either Charminar or Godavari or Shindwane, all passengers and freight outside, only the military trains move. In peacetime, they have a schedule of movement for men and material. So that timetable is also shared with the railways so that the path and other things are kept easy for the military movements. The other things are of course what we know, staff copy of the public timetable, you have a public timetable, then you have the working timetable, and you have a graphic timetable. Graphic timetable is something which you can find in mostly in controllers' desks. The section controller has a graphic timetable of what is supposed to happen under the section every 6 hours or so, and plotting is done against those sections by the control office application. That is the graphic timetable. And all timetables issued with effect 1st July is sort of a statement that's true over the last 6-7 years. Earlier they used to be twice a year, for some time it was every 1st of April, so on. Okay. Passenger requirements and railway requirements are the two major factors that influence train schedules. Okay. Then again, they have to take into account all these factors when thinking of a new train. Short distance passengers, medium distance and long distance. Basically when you come to long distance passengers, everybody wants a night departure and early morning arrival. And every important station like Pachur, Somanai and all Vrindavan Express has to go at a convenient time. Okay, my love affair continues. Pardon me? Can you repeat the golden words? Vrindavan one fast passenger. Okay. Okay, then can you just go back to the previous one? Okay, convenient connections at junctions and time. I know people, Karthik Nayak is here, we know your experience in Londa, Madgaon area, and if you had a proper time limit, that wouldn't have happened. At least with the wildlife in that area, you should have had a proper time limit. Okay, catering facilities, loading of food, faster speeds and more comforts, overnight service, and regular service. These are all the factors that go in. Next one. Okay, from the railway side, you need to find a decent place, time to fuel your diesel locomotive. You need to provide a maintenance block in each section. Maybe there will be no train running for 2-3 hours. Typically in Madras division we have this after Vrindavan Express leaves in the morning at 7:50. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I've lost track of my love.
No, it's like
Okay. After Vrindavan Express there is no departure towards Arkonam or Katmai till West Coast, which is at 11:30. Then precedence where your overtakes are taken care of. They'll have to be very careful with this because the moment you miss out the block, the next 2 stations will be halt and your next block will be 20 kilometers away. So they'll have to plan these things as well. Locomotive change, which is nowadays happening frequently D to D, E to E, E to D and all that. With a lot of sections being DC, AC, diesel under AC under diesel and all those things. Change of crew, parcel and luggage. I've seen some passenger trains typically getting a parcel handling time of 3 hours at an intermediate station. Okay, traffic recovery time, which is what we all know by a very famous word for us, slack. Next. Okay, you have your MPS, which is the maximum for any train, depending on the rolling stock and the locomotive capability and the track. Your book speed, then your average running speed, and then your commercial speed. The commercial speed is what determines whether you pay super fast charges or a train that arrives late 10 minutes and loses that status. And again, based on that speed which we saw in the previous slide, you have this running time. But this last sentence there is a bit of a misnomer when late drivers to run at MPS. I've seen working timetables now, specify drivers to run at MPS no matter what. Then these are again the factors on which your running time depends, the distance, hauling power. We have seen forum arguments like WTP4 can reach MPS in 17 minutes, WAP4 in 7 minutes and all that. All these things are for us. Railways have their own set of tables on which they rely on. Speed restrictions, gradient and curves, and acceleration, deceleration. Acceleration, deceleration, BSP's favorite is a train loses 7 or 8 minutes every time a new halt is introduced. You're right. Okay. There are also speed restrictions which have been factored in when thinking of a new train. There are permanent speed restrictions and temporary speed restrictions. An interesting part of this permanent speed restriction is some sections they have these permanent speed restrictions issued printed along in the caution orders. Some sections don't. That's why sometimes you find in Madras, Vijayawada caution order having either 60 or 70 cautions, which about 30, 40 are 75, 60 kind of permanent speed restrictions. Okay, this is the most interesting part. By September, the divisions and proposals to headquarters. So now you know if an ideal time to pester an officer for a train to your favorite station is, you'll have to complete the Maska file process by September. Then the headquarters examines. There is also an divisional operations manager, the senior level meeting in the headquarters to decide on all the proposals from within the zone. Then there is a headquarters timetable meeting. From there you go to the zonal timetable agenda by November. And then I think for the first time this year, the IRTTC meeting was held somewhere in Northeast in Guwahati. So far it has been held elsewhere. I think that news was there in the papers recently.
Last year it was Pune. Pune.
And typically I've seen these meetings when they are held in Chennai. It's a classic example of low-cost meeting. All zones have their own FC or spare 2A or 3A coaches. The staff come in there, they are stabled on one siding with power supply. air conditioners and everything work on the power supply. The staff just come in, work there, attend the meeting, come back and retire for the day.
Is the meeting in the coach?
No, meeting is in the headquarters. They stay in the railway coach, they work in the railway coach. They have a bath and everything. Everything literally is done in the coach on the parcel office siding only. And here we have rail fans coming into a plush place like this to discuss railways. Okay, then we have the finalization of the timetable with 31st March and then transmission to PRS for filing of trains and printing for publication. Okay, in between these two, there is something called the process, which I would say totally unofficial or maybe official unofficial process of the railway minister deciding on what goes in and what goes out. For at least 2 or 3 consecutive budgets now, I had information that there was an agreement between X and Y for running this train. Concrete information, I have seen that with my eyes. On the budget day, the train is not there in the
Bus lobby.
It could be a bus lobby. It could be a bus lobby. And I know there are quite a few people here who are skeptical or dismissive of the bus lobby, but don't underestimate them. They are the strongest ones. Stronger than ever. Okay, there's also the rating. You can't just keep running trains out of thin air. You need rolling stock for that. And they would like to keep the rolling stock as ideal as possible. Of course, subject to your requirements of maintenance and railworthiness and all that. So there are 3 types of ratings in railways. One rate is used for several days, branch line where you found so many pieces on a gallery with 20 destinations on a small board. Not one of them visible. But still people have the confidence to board them and get on the right station, not really get lost. One rate used for several days, and then several rates used for one train, typically your Kerala Express kind of trains. Next. Okay, these things are slowly being done with sectional coaches and through coaches. There may be very rare examples in some isolated pockets. Okay, a rate link booklet is also readied along with every timetable. It contains the rate link for each and every train that a division handles. Without a rate link, it is not possible to run a train. So, along with the public timetable which is released on 30th June, dated for the timetable on 1st July, all these things are in place at least 2-3 days before it reaches the required people, wherever it has to go. Okay, these are some examples that there has been slight overreach as far as this is concerned. I have extended my mandate and taken these examples from the live papers that I had. I haven't scanned them for obvious reasons, but I have put it up in this manner. So you can just have a look at some examples here. You go to the next slide. So these are all the things that have to go into the timetable committee meeting for a new train to be introduced or extended. If it is an interzonal extension, there will be another column there, remarks of X-railway as well. Move to the next. Okay. So when you double decker is proposed, typically what happens is they have an abstract timing here. Next one. There's a stoppage section in the next sheet.
The first one is for Sridhar Joshi.
I would have been happy had it been in the down direction. And incidentally, I don't know, whenever I come to Hyderabad, I always like to take the Kachigura Chennai Express, Egmont Express, because it drops you off right in front of my house. Okay, these are all the details that go into when a new train is decided. Who does the primary maintenance? Who does the other end attention? What is the distance on one way? What is the total time on run? Average speed? What is the loco required? Then what is the rake required? From board or from any other zone? What is the composition of the train? These are all the things that go into deciding what constitutes a new train.
What is the difference between RBPC and just a BPC?
A BPC is one end. Say for example, I'll just give you an example, I'm not sure whether it's right. Chennai Ahmedabad Navachain Express runs for about 1800-1900 kilometers. It gets a BPC at BDQ. It has to go to Ahmedabad. The TXR inspects and issues another BPC.
All the way.
Whereas Here, this RBPC is actually a wrong BPC, where the one end BBQ issues, BBQ TXR issues the BPC, it's valid till the train comes back to base. Pardon me? Okay, yeah. 5,000 is the limit now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's an information I didn't know. This is typically what you find in the rate link booklet. Before we end this, I also like to share one incident with one or two incidents which I have earlier seen. The Howrah Chennai Superfast AC was supposed to be in the timetable at least a couple of years ago. The Chennai Bombay AC Superfast order has been in the draft timetable for about 2-3 years now. But somehow it's not first announced. I've seen those papers, but obviously I cannot include those here. Thank you very much for your time.